Today I want to do an overview and basic tutorial of Harmony Bloom, which is a sequencer, and you can use it in any DAW. There's a VST version and a standalone version that it comes with, so if you don't want to start it up in a DAW and you just want to play around with it, you can start it up as a standalone app and mess with it. I want to show you some things about it to make it a little bit easier to understand and get an idea of how you can manipulate it and use it to make different music. It's a pretty complex system, and so I want to try to simplify it and make it so you can start out and mess with it. So to start off with, this is Harmony Bloom right here. I'm going to move it out to the side here. And this is Ableton Live, but you can use any DAW to do this. So you can see Harmony Blue is in the first track, and it's playing MIDI out, and it's playing it to this Hammond B3 organ in the second track. So let's just bring this back. First off, if we just hit this little arrow button here, it will play. And this is no preset loaded. This is the basically where it starts out when you first load it in. So I'm going to turn that off for now. And so one thing to be aware of is if we click this over here, there's a little link icon right here. That means we can use the stop, the play and stop on the DAW. So it links it to the DAW. So that makes it easier. It also, if we change our tempo in the DAW, it should change it within the Harmony Bloom as well. The tempo is right here. So right now it's linked. So in order to change it here, you can see it's grayed out. We have to change it in the DAW itself. All right, so let's start on the left side here. First off, we're playing a chromatic scale. There's a note collection here, and what the note collection has to do with is different intervals and chords and harmonies and stuff that it produces along with the scale. The scale keeps it so that it's within the scale, and the root keeps it so that it's within the key of whatever root you pick. So what we're going to do here is right here, you can see everything's zeroed out over here pretty much, except quantized offset, which is at 1/16th by default. What we're going to do is we're going to put this to 1/1, and you can see it lines everything up in there. And so we're going to start playing this right now, and you see it plays everything all at once. There's a line right here, and this is where the notes will play when they hit it. And so we can add lines into this. So as we add lines into it, so we're going to take these two back off for now. Now I'm going to put it back up to 1/16th, 1/16 offset. Now if we add these different things, you can see it starts to play multiple notes at the same time. Now, the way to think about this, or one way to think about it, is if you've ever seen a music box either has a disc or a drum on it that has little posts coming up, and those posts hit these tines, these metal tines, which are notes in the music box, and that's how it plays. And it's a very similar thing. You can also think of it kind of as like a player piano, where you have a scroll with little dots that play the notes. So if you think of it that way and think of it visually in that pattern, and each of these lines is where it plays, and we can change them in any way that we want. So we can add and subtract. We have just one line, we could have 2, 3, 4, or all the lines could be activated to play. So these lines are like almost like playheads, I guess you could think of it as. So when a note hits that, it plays. So the next thing that we want to see is we're gonna bring this back to 1/1, and then we're going to use the speed offset. And if you just you can click on this, and there we go. You can click on this and drag it, and then when we play it again, you can see how this. You can see how the speed offset is causing it to bend. That's a negative speed. We can do it this negative or positive. So some of these parameters we can do negative and positive on it. So I'm going to set this back at 0 again. And we're going to go to free offset. And you can see how that changes the pattern. It changes where the notes are. And when they change, it changes the order that they're going to hit in, because you can see that inside the spiral is now moving ahead of some of these outer notes. So it's going to change that. And what ones hit at the same time or when they hit have to do with these different playheads on them. So if we go and we turn this back on, all right, so I'm going to put that back to 0 again. And let's look at the even offset. And you can see that kind of spreads it out. Let's turn that back down. And then go to the global offset. This one I don't think is as apparent unless you have other things going on at the same time. So another thing that we can do is we can click up here and select a preset, or we can click up here and click through the presets to see some of the ones that have already been put in. I like this one a lot. Bermudas. That is very nice. All right, so you can mess with those. You may even want to mess with the presets before you even start messing with some of these parameters, just to get an idea of what's going on. If we go here to this icon, it resets it back to the default. It still leaves on Bermudas as what it thinks is the preset, but that doesn't change for whatever reason, at least not right now. It really has no preset when it's set like this. So what we can do is we can start to move some of these offsets. And you can get an idea of, just by looking at the shape over time, how you want it. And so this global offset just shifts everything. So it shifts the offset of how the notes, where they start playing, basically. So we can shift all of this. And the other thing we can do is we can change the number of notes. We have 16 now. Let's put it up to 43, so we have a lot more right there. We can change the note duration, so you can see that the notes are playing longer. Also, we can change the loop length. You can put it down to 4 for right now. The other thing you can do is change the probability. And the probability will, some of the, if you reduce it, then how often the note hits, it will skip some of the notes sometimes. If you put it up to 100%, it will always play the note. All right, so that really goes through that as well. The tempo is just the tempo of the whole thing, and right now we have it linked to the DAW. Probability is the probability the notes will play. You change the length of the loop, the duration of the note, and the number of notes in the sequence. And all of these over to the left side kind of change the position of where the note is. The other thing we can do is add in these play things. So let's these play heads, or these play lines, whatever you want to call them. And let's switch this to, we had a chromatic, so let's switch it to major here. And major here as well. We can also roll the dice, and it will set all of these different parameters here. So we can roll the dice as well on that. You may want to start out with, when you start out, you may want to start the scale out on major or minor, and then the note collection is major and minor, and make the match up, and then see how the different collection of notes affect the harmonies and the sounds in this. There's Mario notes. Mario was the one who wrote this, and so that's a sequence that he set up, a set of notes that he set up that sounds really good on this, and so that's what that is. The rest of these you probably have heard of, like blues, minors, dominants, and so on. The other thing to remember is if we right-click on these things, we can add or remove them from the global randomization, which is this dice up here. We can also use any of these dice on any of these to randomly set, like we can randomly set the number of notes or whatever. And by default, if we right click on this currently is on the randomization, but the note duration is not on randomization. So if you want to randomize that too, every time you hit the global, you can add that. So you can add or subtract any of these parameters to the global dice up here. So that's pretty much an overview of this VST sequencer. You can experiment with it in any DAW that you're used to. You just have to send the MIDI notes from one track to an instrument track. If you want to just start out simply by experimenting with this, you can use the standalone one. It has a sound already built into it that you can use. And you can download a trial of Harmony Bloom if you just want to kind of experiment with it first. If you already have it, hopefully this tutorial will help you experiment with some of the stuff. And just remember, if you want to figure out what each of these things is doing, you can zero out them or go back to kind of the standard setting right here by hitting on this little icon up here. And so then you can experiment with like the offset, and you can see that the offset is what changes the shape and the positioning of it. And you can experiment with hitting different ones of these lines, turning them on and off, and seeing how you like the sound of it.